Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode, that is, of Wisconsin Weather Experts. It's Friday. We have made it to the end of the work week. We're going to talk a lot about trick-or-treating and the forecast for this weekend, because I know at least in southeast Wisconsin, we do things a little bit early. But we're actually going to start with a recap of this morning, because it was a cold start to the day across not only southeast Wisconsin, but across the state. So here's a look at temperatures, low temperatures, that is. Now, Milwaukee dropped to 35, but other parts of Milwaukee County, including here where our station is in Brown Deer, we're not too far from the lake. We did fall below freezing, but look at some of the other numbers. 26 Madison, 28 was the low in La Crosse, 23 in Eau Claire. There were even some parts of western Wisconsin that dipped into the teens this morning, so it was chilly. Now, southeast Wisconsin did have a freeze warning this morning, and for good reason. We have officially now ended our growing season here in southern parts of the state. Now, northern parts of the state, your growing season ended at the end of September when you guys saw your first freeze. But notice how many spots, here closer to Milwaukee that dipped into the middle and upper 20s and then to around freezing. Yes, so to say the very least, it has been a chilly start to the day. Now, switching gears a little bit, have you ever wondered how frost forms? It's pretty basic, but fascinating still, to say the very least. So you do need a couple of different things for the right criteria for frost to form. And number one, that would be clear skies, light winds, all of which we had yesterday. We still need a little bit of moisture in the air, as well as some moisture on the ground, and temperatures in the low 30s, especially below freezing. Now, air temperatures, that is, could still cause frost even if they're in the mid-30s, and that's because the ground, and think, the car windshields, the tops of the grass, the spots that frost really does form a little easier, they're usually a few degrees cooler. So even in Milwaukee, with our air temperature this morning being around 35, there was still some frost in and around the city. But, basically what happens here is the little bit of water or moisture, those droplets that are in the air, they touch some of the colder pavement really at the surface here or at ground level, and it just freezes. It freezes into ice crystals. Sometimes you can see some really cool designs on the windshield. So I know it sounds kind of basic, but the most important part, of course, is some of that, those favorable conditions, all of which we had yesterday. So pretty fascinating stuff there. I love to always dig into why things happen when it comes to the weather. All right, well, along with cooler weather, this time of year can ramp up your allergies. And I know we a lot of times talk about spring and summer allergies, but did you know that a lot of times cooler weather can actually irritate your nasal passages and airways? And you might want to take a closer look at your favorite fall activities, because those can cause some problems too. A doctor with Cleveland Clinic says fall activities like hay rides, corn mazes, apple picking, and even think, the yard cleanup with all of the leaves that fall from our trees, those can stir up mold and weed pollens, and that can trigger allergy symptoms. And I put this in the show today because I've actually heard from quite a few people lately, I think from trips to the pumpkin patch, their eyes the next day are so itchy, and they're sneezing and they're coughing. Even though a lot of our allergens are now done for the season, we do still see some kicking up every once in a while. All right, to the tropics now. We're going to keep talking about this in the days ahead. Tropical storm Melissa gaining strength in the Caribbean. Authorities are encouraging residents in flood-prone areas to get to higher ground. The storm is already being blamed for bringing down a large tree that unfortunately killed a man in southern Haiti. Forecasters say eastern Jamaica could see up to a foot of rain, if not more than that, because of how slow this storm is moving. It's moving at 1 mile per hour right now, if that puts it into perspective for you. A hurricane watch and a tropical storm warning are in effect for Jamaica, as well as Haiti's southwestern peninsula.
But just these rainfall amounts alone are likely to produce significant life-threatening flash flooding and landslides, especially in these mountainous areas along the southern coast of Dominican Republic and Haiti and in portions of Jamaica as well. So rainfall has historically been the biggest cause of loss of life in tropical storms and hurricanes in the Caribbean region.
Obviously a NOAA official there, but again, this storm is forecast to strengthen in the coming days, through the weekend, and expected to bring in really potentially devastating rainfall totals. This is what it looks like on infrared satellite. So a similar image to what we showed you yesterday. If you remember yesterday, it actually looked a little messier. Today, it's coming together a little bit more. But check out the track on this storm. So it is technically still a tropical storm. The wind, though, even from this morning, has increased. So this storm is strengthening. This is just sitting essentially in really warm tropical or Caribbean water right now. It's moving at 2 miles per hour now with max sustained winds of 60 miles per hour. Notice how through the weekend it just kind of meanders in its own little area, then approaches early next week Jamaica. And there's the potential that this actually strengthens to a Category 4 hurricane. So Jamaica, again, and surrounding islands, just really not in a great spot for this storm, especially with how slow moving it is going to be. Now, past that, there's actually going to be a cold front moving through Florida, and that may push this system back out over the Atlantic and away from Florida. So we'll see early next week. In fact, it's more so closer to Halloween that Florida will see this frontal boundary moving through. But in the end, that may actually help us out. So something to absolutely pay attention to. We, of course, always are watching the tropics as it could have an impact on the United States. Wow, that's a perfect way to kick off regional weather. Actually, I think I have one more story. Just kidding. Let me keep going here, and then we'll get to regional weather. A scary close call. This is pretty incredible footage here. Now, a few days ago, this happened in New Zealand. This video shows strong winds blowing a woman into oncoming traffic. The winds knocking her off of her feet and into a busy road. Now, thankfully, she did not get hit and managed to get back up. In fact, you can kind of see a couple of cars stopping ahead of time. She got back onto the sidewalk. Now, they were under an orange level strong wind warning. That's what it's called in New Zealand, with wind gusts recorded at over 40 miles per hour, but there was a peak wind gust at the airport of 62 miles per hour. Now, the strong wind also caused fatality in a neighboring area from a fallen tree branch. And you can just see the streetlights shaking around too. So a couple of days ago, really, really scary stuff. All right, now let's kick off regional weather as we look ahead to, in Wisconsin, what should be a pretty nice weekend for trick-or-treating. A lot of the action at this hour is towards the south, and those are the spots that actually have the chance to see severe weather going forward this evening. You can see the rain right now. Not severe, but there's some steady rainfall across parts of Missouri, Arkansas, as well as Oklahoma. Now, in southwestern Texas earlier, there was one severe thunderstorm warning. We here locally actually have a high pressure system that's hanging out around us, so that's going to bring us some sunshine. But this is a stronger system towards the south, and once again, they could potentially see some severe weather, including tornadoes throughout this afternoon and evening. Another strong storm coming into the Pacific Northwest right now, actually going to produce some pretty strong wind. In fact, you can see a handful of areas under those wind advisories, as well as southern parts of Montana under a high wind watch. And some of those higher elevations, too, expected to see a little bit of snow. There's a winter weather advisory. Now down towards the south, again, Oklahoma and primarily Texas, the spots with that system that could see some severe weather going forward today. At last check, there were no severe thunderstorm warnings ongoing, but there was already one in the last couple of hours. They also are expecting to see really heavy rain. In fact, they've already kind of seen it. A first wave of heavy rain down towards the south, but you can see Oklahoma City down into Texas, a flood watch, and just in the far northeastern corner of Texas, that red box is an ongoing flash flood warning. We are quiet here in the Great Lakes region. We'll take it after what was a very windy and just kind of dreary last couple of days. We're expecting to see sunshine throughout the remainder of today, then more clouds start to build in throughout the weekend. But a statewide view here going through the remainder of your Friday, we'll eventually see some cloud cover rolling in overnight, but the rest of today is looking good. I do think the morning hours could bring western Wisconsin a few spotty light rain showers. Most of eastern parts of the state will actually stay dry. I think the lake is actually going to provide some drier air. Sometimes that happens. The lake doesn't always bring in moisture. Sometimes it brings in some dry air. So I think we'll luck out here locally for your Saturday. And Sunday, kind of the same deal. We'll still have some cloud cover. It'll be a bit breezy, but still a dry and rather pleasant day. High temperatures on Sunday could be in the upper 50s, so something to look forward to. High temperatures today will still fall short of average through most of central and southern Wisconsin in the 50s, and then look it up towards the north. Those are the spots that will stay in the 40s. Notice out west, though, we're seeing more 60s and more 70s. That's where that weak warm front is right now. So as we see that Saturday, that was what will provide a little bit of a bump in temperatures for Sunday. Again, going from low 50s Saturday to upper 50s on Sunday. That's actually normal for this time of year. Now, temperatures, looks like this graphic's in the process of updating here. But again, temperatures stay a little below average here through Saturday, climb to nearly normal on Sunday, and then they do fall again. There you go. You can see the numbers on there into early next week. We have another chance for rain early next week as well. And when it comes to low temperatures, we are going to drop into the 30s again tonight. So there is the chance we have more patchy frost tonight. That being said, because it's now the end of the growing season, the National Weather Service will no longer issue any of those frost or freeze headlines. The good news, we're actually warming up a little bit in the low temperature department after tomorrow morning. Those 40s will be back, so a break from some of the frost. This is an interesting one as we move on. Homeowners insurance premiums are on the rise across the country. I think most of us understand that. Industry analysis say severe weather is the driving factor as insurance companies look to recoup losses caused by natural disasters. Fox's Amalia Roy shows us what insurance experts are seeing.
Phoenix is one of the fastest growing areas of the country, and while that brings economic benefits, experts are also warning that we're seeing more people move into disaster-prone areas. It only took about 10 minutes for this flash storm to tear through Tempe, Arizona. This microburst was part of a series of storms that flooded the Phoenix area with a record rainfall last week.
Up to a loud boom Sunday morning around 3 a.m. So I got up to see what the issue was, to step into almost two foot of water at that point.
Julie Eaglehoff-Honey says she's never experienced rain like this past storm in her entire life living in Arizona.
That's the one thing about Arizona. We typically don't have tornadoes. Typically we don't have the microbursts. We don't have the avalanches or the big floods.
Home insurance experts say people need to understand what their policies cover, especially as weather in certain parts of the country become increasingly unpredictable, like the historic flash floods that hit Vermont in 2023 and snowstorms in Texas in 2021.
You should be doing an annual insurance review. Insurance is not one of those things that you should just set it and forget it, and it goes by for, decades where you never look at your policy.
Experts also say people are moving to certain regions for lower housing costs, but those same areas could have some of the highest insurance premiums because natural disasters are more common there.
More exposures and more expensive costs to rebuild and replace property. Those are the top factors that are driving this really across the U.S., but it's particularly pronounced in states like Arizona that have seen some of the highest population growth.
On top of checking your insurance policy, experts say to weatherproof where you can, whether that's looking at your windows and roofs, fortifying things where you can, or clearing flammable debris from around your property. In Phoenix, Amalia Roy, Fox News.
Always interesting to hear from professionals, isn't it? Well, we are going to take a quick break. Let's take a live look outside right now. We've got a great interview coming up that I think you all will be very intrigued by. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody, to Wisconsin Weather Experts, exclusively here on Fox Local, as well as our Fox 6 YouTube page. I know it's a big weekend coming up across, especially southeast Wisconsin. I know I referenced this earlier, but here's the information you need to know if you are going to be trick-or-treating heading into this weekend. Now, temperatures in the Milwaukee area will be a little cooler on Saturday. Sunday, they'll actually be closer to normal with that high temperature right around 58 degrees. It will be a little breezier throughout the afternoon, but the Saturday forecast, if that's your day, just a little cooler, but both looking good. And we'll talk a little bit more about ways to stay warm and a couple of other things heading a little later in the break. Now, before this previous break, I mentioned an awesome interview that I think you guys will really like. So listen to this. Do Good Wisconsin. Maybe you've seen them on social media. They're an organization that sets out to promote good happening throughout communities in Wisconsin through social media. I'm actually joined by their co-founder and executive director to learn more. Eric, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Of course. Okay, so I have so many questions, but let's start with the basics because I have seen you guys pop up on social media a lot lately, which probably means you're getting good traction right now. What is Do Good Wisconsin and why did you start it? How did you start it?
Yeah, Do Good Wisconsin is a 501c3 nonprofit based out of Madison, Wisconsin. However, we kind of serve throughout the state. It was launched initially with the idea of being able to just promote the good happening in communities across the state and remind people there's a lot more good happening than sometimes a lot of the negative stuff that sometimes just seems that that's the only thing happening. So we wanted to have a platform on our social media to just highlight those stories, whether it's the 7-year-old that does a lemonade stand and raises $40,000 for a local family, or if it's a 97-year-old crocheting hats and donating them to the local hospital. Like, we wanted to share those type of stories that inspire and remind people of the good still happening across Wisconsin in their community.
And I see on your website you have ambassadors. Are they the people who bring good news to your guys' attention?
Yeah, absolutely. They help us to find a lot of those good things happening in communities. And they're volunteers that just help us to kind of spread the word of who Do Good Wisconsin is. And again, which is fostering a culture of kindness, giving, and philanthropy across Wisconsin, and helping us with initiatives that engage kids and adults in philanthropy across the state of Wisconsin. So our ambassadors help out with that, and they're incredible people that, again, continue to spread the good as well.
And this is just all social media based, right? So Facebook, X, are you on any other sites?
Yeah. Mainly social media is Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, but Facebook is definitely our main way of showcasing our programs, how people can support, how people can get involved. But Facebook is where we kind of direct a lot of our supporters and people that want to follow along of what we're doing.
And I saw that you guys actually do a few different programs. Now, I want to talk specifically about what I saw recently on Facebook, and that's a Snow Angels program. I love the idea of this. Can you tell us more about it?
Yeah, really simple concept. And in fact, it was something I saw that was shared. I believe it might have been over in Europe. And I thought, what a great concept. And the idea is people that maybe shouldn't be out shoveling due to health concerns, that they could actually put up the sign that says a snow angel is needed here, and just offering the opportunity for people in their community to maybe lend an extra hand or an extra shovel, in this case, to maybe shovel their driveway, shovel their sidewalk, and help them out. Obviously, it's not guaranteed someone's going to come there to help them out, but so they're still responsible, all the good stuff, ordinances and all of that. But it's just a simple way of saying, yeah, here's an opportunity to help somebody that might just need a little extra hand, and don't have to go to the house. You're not going in the house, nothing like that. You could just, hey, help me out because we got a bunch of snow recently, right?
And if someone wanted to, number one, volunteer for that, but also sign themselves up for it personally, how can they go about doing that?
Yeah, this actually was kind of a pilot program for us. We kind of had this idea and this thought, and we said, hey, you know what? Our organization, our nonprofit, is going to cover the cost of the signs and shipping these to 100 100 homes across the state of Wisconsin. People are able to go to our Facebook page and they can see the link that they can essentially apply to get one. We're still kind of sorting through that process a little bit because of the abundance of requests that we've just received. And we're still kind of figuring that out, right? We have a number of folks that says, well, how do I know where I can help? And we'll probably find some way of doing that without necessarily sharing personal information out there. And obviously, you know, that's something we're working through right now. But ultimately, if someone is in need of a sign, they can apply it through our Facebook page. You'll see the link up towards the top there as well.
And there's also a link on your website to donate too, because like you said, this is something that, I mean, donations will be critical going forward.
Yeah, you know, over these last 48 hours, like I said, our idea was to financially support covering 100 of these to send out to people. We've in 48 hours, we've received over 600 requests. And I know the post about it has been shared over almost 6,000 times. So I know the requests will still continue to come in. And so we have opened up the opportunity for people to support to cover our cost of shipping these out to more people that could just use this to say, hey, if you're so kind to help us out with snow, if and when we get it this year, we could use an extra hand.
I support this 100%. I absolutely love it. What else are you hoping to do in the future? I know you guys are a young nonprofit. I'm sure the sky's the limit, but what's next for you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, obviously, besides promoting the good on our social media every day, our biggest program we launched right away was supporting teachers with school supplies specific to teachers for what they buy out of their own pocket for themselves in their classroom. That's our largest program. Is we have our school supply drive for teachers we do every year. And on top of that, integrating the schools, there is a competition at the beginning of the year that we do our cereal box domino challenge, where over the last 3 years, on average, we have about 30 schools compete against schools their size to collect a lot of boxes of cereal up until National Cereal Day on March 7th. They knock them down like dominoes, they record a video, and then ultimately at the end of it, they donate it to their local food pantries. And since the last 3 years, that program alone we've been able to donate over 50,000 boxes of cereal to local food pantries across the state of Wisconsin. And so we have these initiatives that we have started, that we have initiated, have supported, that again engage these kids and adults in philanthropy and the opportunity to give back in their community. And I think ultimately, if you think about it, even with that cereal box idea, right? If a kid brought in one box of cereal and another kid brought in another box and multiple boxes from somebody else, the idea of like, hey, when this all adds up, we collected a lot of boxes of cereal to make a difference. Well, every day we have that opportunity to be kind to one another, help each other out, lend a helping hand. And that's kind of the concept about Do Good Wisconsin and our mission and our vision with some of these programs.
That's incredible. Eric, thank you so much for being here today. Really quickly, website, dogoodwisconsin.com?
Yep, dogoodwisconsin.com. Okay. Follow us on Facebook page, and we appreciate everyone's support.
Awesome. Thank you again, Eric. Live look outside right now. We will be right back with just a tiny bit more. Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for staying with us again for another great Friday edition of Wisconsin Weather Experts. Stay warm if you are trick-or-treating this weekend. Stay tuned for next week's forecast for actual Halloween. And of course, just have a lovely weekend. We'll see you back here on Monday at noon.